It's a great day to be a Coyote. Welcome, Coyote Nation, to another episode of Back to Pack Podcast, where we are going to be bringing you all of your favorite games, memories, and of course, discussion with our fellow Coyotes. As a disclaimer, we have no affiliation to the University of South Dakota. This is a podcast ran by fans for fans. The ideas and comments do not represent the university. Our opinions are our own. Be sure to find us on Twitter at BackToPackSD. With that being said, let's jump in. All right, I just realized I forgot to take him off stage, so he's muted. Apparently, this bob out has kind of spiraled out of control and is made its way up the chain into places we didn't think it would actually make it to. So tonight we have Mayor John Cole joining us. Hopefully, we don't get reprimanded for this. It was supposed to be fun. So, how you doing, John?
I'm doing great, doing fantastic.
Well, that's good. I'm excited. I thought it was, instantly, I thought it was hilarious the moment you got in our mentions when we started getting this thing rolling.
Yeah.
And I'm just so excited for what, the football team has done, not just for the university, but obviously for your town as well in Vermilion. And that's kind of where I want to start things off at, if you're all right with that. And just kind of what having a university in your town means to the town of Vermilion.
Yeah, absolutely. It's fantastic to have the University of South Dakota in Vermilion, of course. Without the university, Vermilion wouldn't be what it is, and without Vermilion, the university wouldn't be what it is either.
Yes.
We love it, and of course, when the university, the athletics is doing well, it brings all sorts of people to our community, which gives us a boost in tourism, helps our local businesses, the restaurants, the hotels, all that. It helps our community in ways that we can never imagine. Small town South Dakota.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And funny enough, you have an old constituent of your town with you tonight too, in Grant.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. We didn't mention it prior or before the show, but yeah, I shouldn't say born and raised, but certainly raised in Vermilion since I was in grade school. So, uh, lived there as a child, and we did high school. Like I said, I played high school in the Dome for football, and stuck around and went to USD. And you're exactly right. Vermilion's a special place, and the University of South Dakota wouldn't be what it is without Vermilion, and vice versa. So I think I would agree 100% with that.
Yeah, and it's really cool for our high school students to sit there and play on the dome and on the turf. That's definitely an experience that they get to have, and that way then too, for the fans, it's a pretty good thing being able to go to that controlled climate when it's
That's right.
10 degrees and snowing outside. It's pretty nice.
Yep. Yeah, that was nice.
That is. It's exactly right. It's we always look back and we always describe it as we were spoiled, right? Especially in high school. Like here we are playing in an indoor stadium, and the stadium has been much improved since my time there. But even at the time, it was pretty cool to get to play there too. And also as a student, or I should say a high school student in Vermilion, getting to go watch college athletics, constantly, right? Whether it was basketball games, volleyball games, football games, certainly. And to your point, we had a lot of really good programs that drew in a lot of people on a pretty consistent basis, even in this would have been the Division II era. So it's very cool to see.
Yeah, I would agree. Now, I did not have the fortune enough to grow up in Vermilion, but I certainly have loved being in here. I've been here 12 years now and can't imagine living anywhere else.
I will say it is a wonderful town. I loved it so much I decided to stay an extra half semester or a half a year there to enjoy myself some more. But it is funny. The wife and I bring the kids down for a game, and it's hard to leave town even. We make our way to Silk Road after the game, kind of as our post-game ritual. And it's just something about Vermilion that locks you in. And I feel like everybody's kind of has a little bit of Vermilion in them, even when they leave.
Well, that's good, and we certainly are growing now, and we hope that we get more and more stuff for people to kind of stick around even after the games as well. And who knows,
Yeah.
maybe one day we'll be able to continue that and bring other things to the university and other things to Vermilion too. So
And speaking on that growth of your town with Vermilion, what does the success of a football team, basketball team, volleyball do for a town like Vermilion?
yeah, so like I mentioned earlier, it's a big thing for our tourism dollars. The funds that come in helps out the city, and then also the tax revenue when you go out and you go out to eat and you're paying that sales tax. That then goes to help our schools. It goes to help our infrastructure, our roadways. The other thing too is one of the reasons why Vermilion is so limited on hotels. Like that is probably one of the bigger concerns people always say is like I really wish there was more hotels, especially when you go see a game. Well, the occupancy rate of the hotels isn't quite high enough to justify another chain of hotel to be built. So the better our athletics do, obviously, the more it brings in, the more people stay, and it just has this effect. And then the occupancy rate goes up, and hopefully, then be able to bring another hotel, maybe even like an event center or something like that to Vermilion as well. So the more and more people come to Vermilion, whether it be for athletics at the university or even go to school at the university itself, that helps our place grow. So it's a good thing for us. And then not to mention the exposure. You talk about USD football, competing primetime football, right?
Right.
That's some exposure that we get that you don't normally have. So it's really cool to get that. Maybe one day, knock on wood, right? We get game day here or something like that.
Oh yeah.
That'd be something that'd be really cool. But every little bit helps, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you bring up a good point. I think we even talked about that last year during the playoff run, right? I think we saw the big ESPN trailers right out in front of the dome for certainly I think the NDSU game for sure, and then I believe maybe even the one before that. There may have been ESPN Plus game. I can't remember, but it's just surreal. I guess to your point where you're like, oh my gosh, there's an ESPN truck national broadcast game going on inside the dome. It seems surreal. Like if you would have told me that 10 years ago, I said no way, just wouldn't happen. And now here we are again, like you just said last week, although up in Brookings, but nonetheless on national television for two South Dakota universities, which again 10 years ago I would have said, nah, we're never going to be on a national broadcast. That's crazy. And hopefully we'll continue to get a few more national broadcast games this year yet. So it is exciting for sure.
Right, it is, and that helps obviously recruiting with USD and their programs as well. You get more and more exposure like that, and other athletes from across the country see that, so it all helps.
Mm-hmm. No, I'm excited. Vermilion, it's such a beautiful town, especially sitting up on that bluff. It's fantastic. But I know we didn't just bring you in to talk about Vermilion. This Bob out, you kind of created some traction yourself with one of your responses to our tweet, and that's kind of what we brought you in for too. Now, to quote, I'm just going to read it back to you guys. Mayor John Cole did say, "Do I need to declare November 9th as Bob Day in Vermilion?" And I'm already on board with that.
2 votes. He's got 2 votes for sure.
2 votes already. All right.
So I want to ask, how do we make this as official as possible? What do we got to do for that?
So, obviously as mayor, we get to do certain commemorative things like declaring days or weeks and stuff like that. And, that's why, throwing that out there is kind of a side joke. But, one of the things that we could definitely do, and we've already started some discussion with USD, and I think that's where it really comes down to, uh, as a person of the people, right? I really think if we get enough pull from the people asking for, hey, we want November 9th in Vermilion to be Bob Day. And of course, help by showing that support by people dressing like Coach Bob and out in the stands. I think the student athlete or the students will appreciate that. I think if we get enough of outreach and momentum, I think we can make it happen. I mean, it's a pretty hard thing to argue if the people ask for it, right?
You know what? As you're talking, I'm already typing up a poll on Twitter. We're gonna get thousands of votes on this for you.
Let's do it.
Yeah, I think it's fun. It's it's an idea we've kicked around for a while. I think we were talking about it prior to prior before we went live here, and we're really glad to see the traction that it's gained. And it's such a fun idea. I mean, too relatively silly too, right? Like it's just a fun,
Mhm.
silly thing to do.
Right.
So, I think I had mentioned it earlier this week. I want to see 500 plus Bobs run around tailgate and at the game. I just think it would be a really fun thing to do for the game, and so I'm looking forward to it. I think to your point, I think the traction is just getting started here. So I may be
I do too.
biased, but I think it's a good start.
Well, and maybe you get the university on board. I think that's a big part too. If we get enough people shouting out to the athletic director John Schimmel there to jump on board this, obviously he's going to be a driving factor in it.
Uh-huh.
Maybe they can do some incentives for the students to dress up like Coach Bob as well, and
Ooh.
some maybe gift cards or special stuff out there, and they could some swag or something.
So what did we
It'd
used to
be
call the money on the USD students card?
Coyote
Coyote Cash?
Cash.
Kyle
Yeah,
Yeah,
Cash,
little
let's
Coyote
throw some
Cash.
Coyote Cash on there. Just
the
straight up
best
bribery at this point.
That's right. Maybe we're
best
giving out
dressed
maybe we're
Bob.
yeah, maybe we're giving out free red ties for the game. Who knows, right?
Ooh, I like
Oh.
that.
Get
A
some
lot of red ties
clip-ons.
in less than a week.
Yeah, there you go.
Well,
I
I
think
think I
go
think
ahead.
part of this though is I really think that the students are going to have to get out their starch. They're going to have to go out to Walmart and get some starch
That's
their
right.
shirts, get that nice
Mhm.
crisp, down the sleeve,
He
and
that's what
I wonder
you
how
go
many know
ahead.
how to tie a tie too. I mean, that's going to be another one. We might have to get some how-to videos.
That's true. We might do some
I'll,
tutorials. We
I'll
might
link him
be
in there.
there you go.
That's what
Well,
coach could do for one of the by day practices. Get the students out there, teach them how to iron and tie some ties.
we're gonna
Could you imagine just
see a lot of dot
football field of ironing boards?
that's right. We're gonna see a lot of dads at tailgate tying ties, it sounds like.
I,
Hmm.
I like it.
You,
I like it. Hey, you know what? We'll be the best dressed fans out there.
that's the goal.
That's right. That is right. And I was
I
gonna
will say, go
go ahead.
ahead, Durant.
Uh, no, I was just gonna say we were talking about the schedule and stuff, and certainly games at this point in the season for the football team, every game's super important, but this wasn't necessarily like one of the highest profile games that we were gonna see this year too. So that also makes it kind of fun. I think it gives a little bit of excitement around maybe a not quite as exciting opponent. It's not a North Dakota State or South Dakota State, right? That's coming to town that kind of builds its own excitement. So it's always fun to try to get a little extra juice for a game that's maybe not quite on people's radar too. So I'm really hoping that brings in some extra fans, or at least people think, oh, it's kind of fun. That's hopefully brings in some folks that way too. We'll see.
Right. Well, and it is military appreciation
Hmm.
game that day, so obviously they'll be honoring those in the stands and on the field that have fought for our country and all
Hmm.
that. So that's obviously a great thing to recognize us too. But I think to that end too, I think dressed up as Coach Bob, I think would also be a great way to recognize and our wonderful coach, right? That's really brought a lot of experience to his team and done what he's done in the amount of time he's done it.
Exactly. And I think the funniest part about this whole Bob out, Bob is the type of person, type of coach that is absolutely going to hate this because he doesn't take credit for success. He's that kind of coach, and I
Hmm.
love those kind of coaches. It's all the people around me. That's why we are successful. Well, if you build a fantastic culture, that starts at the top,
Yep.
and it's the perfect way to honor him. And the other thing I will say, if you need a tie tied, swing by the back to pack tailgate. For anybody's tie I tie, I'll start handing out Jello shots on. So
There you go.
Yeah. Coach Bob might not talk to me after this one, but I might lose his vote.
Any chance of us getting an interview with him too is out the window.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, John, if you get on Bob's naughty list, you can just blame us. It's fine.
Yeah, I'll do that. But yeah, so basically, I think yeah, you guys get the poll out there, get the momentum out there. Let's get it moving. If we can get some people, maybe like I said, if you get the athletic director John Schimmel out there, we can make some things happen. But ultimately, it's got to be the people's call. Like I'm out there, serving the public, serving the people of Vermilion. So if we can get the people out there to say, "Yep, we want the mayor to declare November 9 as Bob Day," we can certainly do that.
Well, there you go.
Perfect.
It's straight from the source. I like it. We'll make sure to do our part, and we'll make sure John gets a clip of the show here today, so he knows as well. But no, I think it could be a lot of fun. More to come, obviously, as we've got game day. What, another 10 days away still, or maybe even.
We've still got a ways to go. So
we've got a ways to go. So we got plenty
of time. This snowball rolling is going to be huge when we're done.
Let's do it. Let's see what the good old viral videos and tweets can do. All right.
Perfect. Well, do you have anything else for him, Grant?
No. I think we covered it all. We really appreciate you joining us here on the show. I'm sure we'll see you around tailgate, coyote games, coyote events in the future here. But we really appreciate you jumping on with us.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm sure I'll see you out there. I'll be the one in the red tie.
Love it. Exactly. Perfect way to start it.
Perfect.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us, John. We do appreciate it. You have a good night, and hopefully we can get you back to watch the rest of that volleyball game.
All right. Thanks a lot, guys.
Thanks, John.
All right. Yeah, this is spiraling way too far out of control.
I love it. I think it's great. It's great. It's one that I would have never guessed would get so much traction. But like we said, we'll do our part. We'll be atting John. We'll be atting Jaron. We'll get everybody cooking on this one, but it'll be a lot of fun.
We aren't done. If you thought the mayor was the start or the end, we're just getting started.
That's right.
To roll.
See the shenanigans we can get into during a bye week. I mean, it's just that's all we need. We just need a week to really get ourselves in trouble here. It's great.
Well, yeah, don't give me football, and this is what happens. So we can really blame Bob for this. It's his own fault.
Right. Yeah, that's the bye week. That's exactly right. So, but
all right. So before we get into it, because we are going to jump over to the playoffs, how'd your dad tax go today?
Yeah, I should say happy Halloween to everybody.
Yep, I'm poor kids.
I was gonna say dad tax was good. I already feel sick, so that's pretty good. I think I got my fair share of Reese's Cups and Snickers seemed to be the go-to for me. But yeah, kids did just fine on the Halloween situation.
My kids, it wasn't so much a dad tax. They got to learn about tariffs when you import candy from other households.
That's right. High tariffs at your house.
High tariffs. I took 22% of their candy.
There you go.
All right. So not only did we have the mayor join us, we got the Bob out rolling.
Mm-hmm.
The second most important poll was released just the other day.
It was.
And so what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to share the screen with everybody because I kind of figured some things out. And we'll make sure we click the right one. There we go. Now give it a sec. It's going to load. I have the rankings pulled up. If you guys cannot read it, please let me know in the comments. I'm going to actually just zoom in a little more on there so we can see the full top 10 perfectly. All right. That looks good.
Yeah, it looks great.
Can you see it too, Grant?
Mm-hmm. I can.
Perfect.
Yeah, but no, to your point, I think for anybody listening that's not aware, this is the committee's top 10 rankings. It doesn't necessarily mean a whole lot other than it just gives you a little glimpse into the mind of the committee of where they think teams are sitting today. They only do this once, so this is not a weekly poll that they're going to do throughout the end of the year. They do this once, a quick snapshot. The next time we're going to see seedings from the committee is Selection Sunday during the actual selection show. So just a snapshot, but it does give us a little bit of inside information to how we think they kind of weigh certain teams at this point in the season, which is always helpful.
Yep, exactly. And with it, we really just wanted to take an opportunity, take a bigger picture of what USD has done this season
Mhm.
and what they obviously did last year to get to this point. This number
Exactly.
4 ranking obviously is a fantastic number. We are I'd say very close to where we want to be.
Mhm.
Truly, when it comes down to it, if you're not the 1 seed, the 2 seed is just as good.
Mhm.
Obviously, the 1 looks better. Everybody, I don't blame you for thinking that. But a 2 seed, you got to remember the brackets are heading towards each other. We get home field as a 2 seed all the way to the championship. Now, I got a question, Grant. Do you see a path for us to get to the 2 seed?
Yeah, I mean that's the beauty of what we're seeing here right now, right? And
Hmm.
we've talked about this before, is that there is a path to a 2 seed for us, and it's not some sort of fairy tale path. This is a very real path, right? It does require us to win out, obviously, if you're going to be the number 2 team in the country. Uh,
Hmm.
but luckily for us, we get an opportunity to play, the number 1 team in the country with North Dakota State at home last game of the season. So obviously there's games to take care of before that. A lot can happen with this ranking for teams above us and below us, but you have to think you can at least see the path that shows us to where we have an opportunity to get into 1 and 2. And to your point, the 1 and 2 seed is potato because if you're trying to get to Frisco, the home field advantage piece goes away by the end of that. So, uh, yeah, uh, this is exciting as it gets for us. I don't know
Yep.
that I've ever seen us in a position for a path to the 1 or 2 seed this late in the season that I can remember. Maybe last year, but that path, I don't think at this point, if I remember right, it didn't seem like 1 or 2 was very attainable. It seemed like we were kind of in that 3-4 spot at that point. So very exciting
Exactly.
to say the least.
Yes. And so for everybody out there, obviously the most important games are the Indiana State, UND, and DSU. It's always going to be USC's games first.
Hmm.
Winning out is going to be the most important thing to get us to that 2 seed. Now, let's just have a little fun looking at these rankings.
Hmm.
USD wins out. That means NDSU drops 1. Head to head, committee takes a look at it. We have this really fun 3-way tie, Missouri Valley. What do they do?
Yeah,
Obviously, everybody won on their own turf.
yeah, and that's the question, right? You make a lot of it, to your point. You make a lot of assumptions when you're
Mhm.
you're in the 3-way tie, right? South Dakota, South Dakota State, North Dakota State, all winning their games they should. However, we talked about it too. That North Dakota game for us is going to be a tough game. You got to take care of business at home, as we expect them to do. South Dakota State has to hit the road to UND. They got to hit the road to Montana State. So again, games that I would still predict them to win in, but that
Mhm.
3-way tie, uh, in my opinion, and I said this a couple weeks ago, is so much fun to think about for the Missouri Valley to have
Oh, yeah.
South Dakota State, North Dakota State virtually, in a 3-way tie for the top of the Missouri Valley would ultimately force the committee to put 3 Missouri Valley teams in probably the top 4, which
Mhm.
I don't know if that's happened before for a conference. I'd have to go back and look, but I have a feeling if it probably hasn't, or if it has, it's been very rare.
Now, and the even more fun part to think about, we're not done talking about these rankings with those 3 games. Because if we sit here and we talk about Montana State,
Hmm.
they have to go to UC Davis still, who I've looked into them a little more with these rankings. And then obviously bye week, I get bored. I needed some football.
Yep, yep.
Uh, UC Davis really reminds me of USD last season. They are a very, very good team, but they're taking advantage of those opportunities that are in front of them where people are still questioning, do they deserve to be a top 4 seed or not? So that will be interesting with Montana State going to visit them. And then Montana State also has Montana coming in for
Hmm.
a visit. And we all know how rivalries are.
Hmm.
We were right there knocking on the door, trying to upset our higher ranked rival. Is Montana looking for that same opportunity?
Yeah, I mean that's the other beauty of this. this top 10 as well, right? You've got Montana State, UC Davis, Idaho, Montana, all in the Big Sky, which, to your point, the scheduling creates head-to-head matchups just like the Missouri Valley one does. And so you're going to see a lot of movement. I guess, in my opinion, the chances of these things going chalk seem pretty unlikely. There's going to be an
Mhm.
upset along the way, or quote unquote upset, depending on how you look at it. When you think about a Montana State Montana game, or a UC Davis Montana State game, or a NDSU USD game, right? Depends on your definition of upset, or
Yep.
so. But there's going to be a lot of movement, which makes it kind of fun. Some of the outliers, or I shouldn't say necessarily outliers, but you think about like a SEMO and a Mercer and Incarnate Word, where uh, they maybe are just more looking to kind of take care of business in their conferences, with their strength of schedules being probably not as strong by the end of the
Yep.
year, like a Big Sky or a Missouri Valley have historically been. But there's definitely going to be a lot of movement from this list. So it'll be fun to kind of come back to this at the end of the year and see where everybody shakes out or where they all end up.
And I want to say, so I watched the reveal of this, and it put best wins, best losses on there. And for SEMO, when they announced it, they put in one of their best wins a win over Southern Illinois as the number 8 team in the nation. But they're not going to put a win by USD over Southern Illinois when we absolutely blew their doors off.
Right.
So it's fun. The opportunity is there. Obviously, the most important thing is our first 3 games on this. But the disaster that could happen and get us to the point where we are not envying the committee on their decisions here,
Mm-hmm.
it could be fun.
Yeah, I am. When it comes to the committee, I embrace the chaos. To your point, right? Like that scenario that we talked about with a three-way tie. I just I would love to be inside the room to hear that, because there's no right answer, right? Like
No.
when you go into it, there is no right answer, especially if you have three of the best, if not the three best teams in the country, who have all done a triangle of kind of beating up on each other. I don't
Mhm.
know what you do, right? And the crazy part about something like that is you're going to leave somebody out of the 1-2 spot in that scenario. And whatever
Exactly.
team's left out of that is not going to be happy about that, because they'll have all
Oh,
the ammo in the world to say we deserve it just as much as those guys do, or those guys do, and vice versa.
and don't forget too, 2 faces 3.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
so that's one thing to remember. So you can, and you got to
Again,
remember
if
what's
it
going to
goes
happen now.
chalk, right? Like, it's
If
still
it
the
goes chalk,
playoffs,
yeah.
right? But you're exactly right. In theory, 1 and 4 are on the same side, 2 and 3 are on the same side, and that creates some matchups that can get interesting too, or what people view as a
Mhm.
much more favorable path to Frisco than others. So uh, it's kind of funny, and I should say it's almost surreal, that we're sitting here talking about Frisco, in October. But that's been the beauty and the fun of this season. We get that
Mhm.
opportunity, and it's not just us being biased USD fans. This is the national poll ranking right here. That's
Yep.
there we are at number 4. So yeah, it's hard if you're not excited about Cal football right now. Like, nothing's going to get you excited.
Uh, all right. So I'm going to lay out the perfect scenario for USD.
Let's hear it.
Now, bear with me. I'm throwing out some stuff here. So, fun fact, UC Davis goes to Montana on November 9th.
Hmm.
We need Montana to win that game. That way, anything UC Davis does to reach above on any upsets, I think kind of negate them and put them right back at 5.
Hmm.
So that loss to Montana, and then they beat Montana State. Montana State, I
Hmm.
think we also need them to lose to Montana. I think it's going to be hard for them to convince themselves that USD belongs above Montana State. Yes, they Montana State has an FBS win. Not really. All 10 of these teams on here could have beat New Mexico State. That is not a big win. Montana State was favored in that game by 2 touchdowns, if I remember correctly.
Hmm.
So that shouldn't be something that they really, or sorry, New Mexico, not New Mexico State. But that shouldn't be something that we compare to. But then with the 2 loss, We beat North Dakota, obviously. North Dakota beat Montana. We beat North Dakota on the same place that Montana lost to them on. That could lead to South Dakota State being a 1 seed, USD being a 2 seed, and that would be the coolest storyline out there.
That, yeah, I think that would kind of melt the brains of the FCS world, if you will, to see South Dakota and South Dakota State sitting at 1-2. And to your point,
Mhm.
there's a path to that, right? This is not a 1 out of 1,000 chance we're talking about. There's a real path for that to happen. Uh, I just pulled it up because I'm sure a lot of folks who follow FCS closely follow him. But Sam Herder, if you don't
Mhm.
follow him, he's a fantastic follow. Um, he highlighted some of these games that are coming up between now and the end of the year. And to your point, November 4th, UC Davis is at Montana. We've got Montana State at UC Davis on. Oh, I guess they didn't put the dates on there. Excuse me. But Montana State at UC Davis. You got Montana at Montana State. You got
Mhm.
NDSU at USD. Um, so you're exactly right. You have a chance to really shift things around with these top
Mhm.
10 matchups, which is super exciting.
And SDSU is not out of the woods either. They have to go to Grand Forks before us. So
Yeah.
I do appreciate them beating them up a little for us and lighten it up a little. But then they
Mhm.
also have to go down to the deserters of the Missouri Valley at Missouri State.
Yeah.
So that's a very questionable one. And North Dakota State still has Missouri State visiting the week prior. Is Missouri State at that point where they want to send a message saying they belong in the FBS, so they beat two of the
Mhm.
top 4 teams in the FCS before they leave?
Yeah. I mean, you make a you make a great point. Is that us included, right? All
Oh
three
yeah.
of the Missouri Valley, so NDSU, SDSU, and USD, all here in the top four. None of us have any easy road
No.
through the rest of the season, right? To your point, I'm just pulling up states, uh, remaining schedule. Versus Murray State this week, that's a win, and versus Southern Illinois, I think that would also be a win. But to go up to UND and to go to Missouri State, those are tricky games.
Yes.
I'm not going to say that I would pick them to lose either of them, but it's not a game feels like a freebie by any means. And to your point too, as you pull up North Dakota State's schedule, they have Missouri State coming up, right? Who's been playing good football, and then they have to come
Mhm.
to the Dome on the last week of the
Exactly.
last week. So, and then of course there's us too. We've talked about it. Going to UND and then hosting NDSU. Uh, I think that last game has potential, you know,
Eh,
semifinal, quarterfinal, national championship type level of football that's going to be played in that
mhm.
game. I'm really looking forward to that.
I'm gonna call it a playoff game.
Yeah,
It
you really
really is.
can.
And these coyotes, they're going out there looking for blood after the embarrassment that they put on us on national
Hmm.
television
Oh yeah.
that NDSU laid on to USD. It's That's fresh in their memories. That game isn't just circled; it's probably cut out and
Yeah.
stapled all over. They're ready for it. It is something, but that's the fun part about these rankings coming out at this time of year. Everybody in this top 10, at least in the Big Sky and Missouri Valley, have tough games left,
Hmm.
except for Idaho. I think Idaho gets to kind of coast.
Yeah, I'd have to look again, but yeah, to your point, I think when we looked at this when this came out, we were texting about it a little bit before it came out, and we thought that we were probably going to fall somewhere between 4 and 5.
Hmm.
I think it's a really good indicator to see that we were 4 because I think there's a pretty good um, there's a pretty good pitch that you could put UC Davis above us at this point in time, right? I think that'll obviously there's a lot of games to be played, but so to see the committee put us in the 4 spot, I think that's a really good indicator. But to your point you just made, I think everybody in the top 5, there is a path for them to be number 1 by the
Yeah,
end of the season, which is crazy, right? Like
it is.
like I said, there's a lot of different scenarios, or a lot of things that could make that change. But there is, I think, a path for anybody in the top 5 to end up at number 1 at the end of the year. It's very,
Exactly.
very cool, very fun.
And here's the thing, I'm glad we're not in the room because we just talked a full circle around it and convinced ourselves that the top 5 all are number 1. So
Yeah,
this could
yeah,
be it's gonna be
absolutely.
fun. I will say this just to anybody watching. First of all, Grandpa Larry cutting in with the final for USD UND. We took it. I feel bad for AD John Schemmel because he was there at the first match or first round, or sorry, first set of the game. And there is a standing conversation between him and Coach Williamson. They're 0-6 when he watches their games, and he was there for the first set. He left to go trick or treating, help his kids trick or treat. After he left, we went, we swept him.
Oh, I didn't see that. If that's the
Yep.
case, he's got to go. Sorry, John. No more volleyball for you this year.
No volleyball for John anymore. So that's fantastic. Congrats to them. It's going to be a fun season. I'm going to tell everybody that's watching and listening, be sure to get ESPN Plus. Be sure to watch these games.
Mhm.
You're going to learn a lot, and it could be really fun. USD has an opportunity if maybe they do get up to the 2 seed. You know, you kind of fingers crossed that it's Montana State down at the 3, more so you can play somebody new. And also,
Mhm.
I'd prefer not to face a rival in the playoffs until it's absolutely necessary.
Mhm.
All right, but do you have anything else you want to add to these rankings or anything else in general, Grant?
No, I don't think so. I think it's fun. These rankings came out at a good time for us because it is during the bye week. So, we don't have Indiana State till next week. So, get yourself ready for that game. Of course,
Yep.
like we said, the 3 most important games are number 1 most important game right now is Indiana State. After that, the next most important game is University of North Dakota, and the
Mhm.
next most important game is North Dakota State. So, most important games coming up next Saturday. So get yourself to the Dome. This team deserves our support, of course, but looking forward to it. And of course, looking forward to more updates on the Bob Out.
Exactly. Now, real quick before I let you guys go, I'm going to try to find this message that was sent. If I can find it quickly. I got a message sent to me from someone. I'm going to keep it anonymous on here, but this message says an NDSU friend called me this afternoon. He told me him and his family just bought tickets for the USD NDSU game on the 50-yard line, just a few rows back.
There
That's
it
all I'm
is.
going to say. Like that sucks.
It
That is
does.
such good
It's
seats.
there's no way to mince words on that. That just that flat out sucks. So I know you and I have been banging on the drum, but you gotta plan accordingly. Again, not to say that the Indiana State game's not important, but that's just not a game that fans from another team are traveling, right? No one's coming from
Yep.
Indiana State. Just not a travelable game. Fargo is 3 hours down the interstate. It's easy, right? It's so get those tickets. We gotta, keep the Bison out of the dome. Really want to make it a home field advantage for that game because, as we said, big implications.
Exactly. And you know what coach is banging the drum on of protect the dome to his players. We got to do the same.
Agreed.
This is our house. They do not need to be coming in here. So what I'm what I'm doing, I'm calling friends from college. I'm hitting them up saying, "Hey, come to the game." Unfortunately, I don't have any spots around me to add my friends to me.
Hmm.
Bring your spouse. Have fun. This is a very good football team. And I don't know what Nebraska's doing or Iowa State's doing, but I know everybody's got with FCS, we all are two team fans,
Hmm.
kind of. Come to this game and bring an Iowa State or a Nebraska friend. They
Hmm.
already have red gear. Good
Yeah.
enough.
Hmm.
Get them in here and they'll see this is good football.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
Perfect. But I think we call it a night. Unless you got
Yes.
anything else.
No, I think it sounds good. I appreciate it as always, and we'll see you back here on Monday.
Perfect. Go Yotes.
Go Yotes.